site of the original Boyd Ranch near Gibbon, Nebraska. All lands in Buffalo County, except the military reservation, were Indian lands until 1857. And they weren't surveyed or open for settlement until 1867. In 1867, a quarter section comprising the Boyd Ranch was first purchased by Joseph Boyd in 1867. The ranch had been in operation several years before that. The deed to Joseph Boyd covering the ranch was the first part of land in Buffalo County to be owned by an individual. It had been in operation for several years before that. On April 5th, 1867, Joseph deeded it to his brother, James E. Boyd, for $500. In 1858, James Boyd seemed to have assumed the active management of the ranch. He was born in Ireland and immigrated to Nebraska from Ohio. In 1858, he married Ann Henry, and she was the daughter of Dr. Henry, an Army doctor at Fort Kearney. The buildings of the Boyd Ranch were made of sod with dirt tops. There was a large corral in the bend of the river, and we can see the bend of the river here, west of the house. He had a considerable number of men, most of whom could speak the Indian language. James Boyd was active in politics. He was elected Justice of the Peace in 1860, and he was elected to the territorial legislature in 1866, and he represented 4 counties. In 1868, Boyd and his family returned to Omaha. He was a member of the first Constitutional Convention, and he was on the Omaha City Council, and he became mayor of Omaha. He established the first pork packing plant in Omaha, and in 1881 he erected a large theater in Omaha. Well, in 1891 he became the first governor of Nebraska. He lived in Nebraska until his death. He lived in Omaha, in fact, until 1906. Now, the location of the Boyd Ranch, where we are right today, is west of Gibbon, and it's a point where the Wood River, which we'll be looking at just in a little bit, where that river was the closest to the Platte River, because Boyd was an entrepreneur, and he knew if this was the narrowest point, there would be more wagons and immigrants passing through this point, and he was selling goods to the settlers.
Good afternoon. When I was a small boy, this is where the Boyd Ranch house was. This was the southeast corner. The porch was on the east. You go into the house, the kitchen was to the north, and the living room was to the south. And I used to come over and play hide the thimble with the neighbor girl. That was about 75 years ago. So anyway, this is where the house sat. And there was a wooden walkway out the front. There was a small 30 by 40 granary right over here. The south side had ear corn, the north bends were for grain. There was an alleyway in the middle, and that was a real asset to the storage of grain and barley. Here we are again on the bank of the Boyd Ranch. This is the old river that came from the north and came up here. In 1935, when they built the highway, they took and cut it over about 200 feet to the north. So that made this a dead leg, and they used the dirt to build up the highway. And my dad operated 4 horses on a big dirt scoop to haul dirt up here, and that was around 1935. So.
We are at a location south of Gibbon, and we see a monument which says it's the northeast corner of Old Fort Kearney. And we think of Fort Kearney as being a smaller area, a recreation area, and a historical area south of Kearney. But originally it was 40 miles square, and so the pioneers would have come through this area. And there are 4 of these markers, but this one happens to be the one that is closest to the Boyd Ranch. Boyd established his ranch at a place which was closest between the Wood River and the Platte River, so that the pioneers would have to go through that area and go past his place where he sold provisions for them.